People will ask us sometimes, well, how do you handle conflict? Do you have these strategies and, but the fact is we don't really have any conflict because we take care of it before there's conflict.
Say more about that. So is it just in the course of like daily activities, you're working together, something comes up, you just stop and talk about it? Is that kind of how it looks?
Yeah, well, the foundation of the project is really all of us who live here. We have all had the experience that we know that separation is not real. So we've all experienced that personally. So we know that in our own experience. So we know we don't have to feel it, and we don't have to even understand it at certain times. We just know that it's true no matter what our emotional experience is. So the most important thing is we don't separate. So the commitment is to not separating, because that's a culture of ego. So then when there is interpersonal kind of things going on, people feel that separation. You'll feel that rise up in yourself, and you'll just feel like you just want to separate. But instead of doing that, we know, and the commitment that we have is we go to the other person and we say, hey, what just happened there? But we don't go, you just did this to me and blah, blah, blah. So there's always a lot of space what just happened is actually, it sounds kind of cliche, but it's actually true. It's actually a moment of evolution. Because if you don't take a position of separation with someone that you feel like has personally done something to you, but you see it as it's not personal, and you don't take that position of separation, you can still go to that person and say, hey, this wasn't cool. And then the person has to look at it and say, well, what was really going on there? And sometimes we do things that aren't very cool to each other. So then what do? We have to take responsibility. And taking responsibility is not just saying, oh, I'm sorry. That's a big part of it. But it's also getting in touch with the effect that you had on the other person. Because if you get in touch with the effect that your response had, then you actually have the juice. You have you're compelled to not do it again. But, all of us have had people say, oh, sorry, but it hasn't even penetrated. Like they're just saying they're sorry because that's what they're supposed to say. But it's not because they really had interest to say, well, what did I do? And why did I do that? So we're really more interested in how this whole thing, how human beings are together, than trying to place any blame on anybody. I mean, we all have egos. We all know that we have egos. But the difference is we're interested in transcending them. And for whatever reason, I don't really know why, but I'm very happy about this. For whatever reason, I would say 90% of the people that have come here and have been regular residents, 90% of them have never, backed away from that. They've struggled, and it hasn't been a smooth ride, and people do act out of ego, including me and Pete, so we're not beyond this. But we care more about what we're trying to create. We care more about the culture we're trying to create than trying to protect our own egos. And sometimes that's not an easy thing to do, because it's not easy to look, to just let your ego be seen by people.